Today in this episode, we talk about how to not worry as much, and we're going to do a deeper dive into Stoicism, which is a philosophical framework for achieving that goal. And it starts about the 26-minute mark for you people that want to skip ahead and don't want to listen to the listener comments or some of the other topics I cover, including a little more on the demisexual survey. I talk about some more data that I kind of missed the first time around. And I also bring up the pandemic map and show where we were 10 days ago compared to today. It's pretty crazy. And I also just share more comments on the current coronavirus situation and my current job status. And also, if you're listening to me on YouTube, would you please like and subscribe to the channel? And if you're listening to me on the podcast, please go out to Apple, iTunes, or the Google Podcast. Please give me a 5-star rating and leave a good review if you like what I'm doing here and you can relate to what I'm talking about. All right, thanks a lot, you guys. Let's do this. Welcome back to another episode of the HSP Experience. It's April 8th, 2020, and I am officially unemployed as of today. So I'm like, well, I might as well do another podcast because I got nothing to do. Yeah, remember I mentioned the last episode that I was probably going to lose this job? Well, it officially happened. They were cool about it too. They were like, hey, we tried to keep you as long as we could. We tried to find some extra money in the emergency fund, but it just wasn't meant to be. So yeah, I've joined the ranks of the millions of unemployed because of the coronavirus. But I feel like we're all in this together. It's like, and we're all going to go down together. I'm not even mad. I can't even get upset because I have this thing about once something is so ridiculously, absurdly fucked up like this pandemic is, I almost laugh at it. It's like, it's so over the top insane. The economy's melting down. People are getting sick. People are dying. And when I say I laugh, I'm not laughing because I'm happy about it. I laugh at the absurdity of it. It's like somebody wants to eat a bat in Asia. I lose my job in California. That's the butterfly effect right there. Crazy, right? Who would have thought? Who would have thought? Yeah, I love that job too. It sucks. But what are you going to do? I'm still grateful, and I'm still happy that everyone I know is safe. I'm still running, and I just went for a 20-mile bike ride yesterday. I took a bunch of pictures. You people that follow me on the Instagram at the HSP EXP, you can check out my nature photography. I got pictures of some turkeys. We got a lot of turkeys. It's like turkey and duck season right now in my neck of the woods. So yeah, they're everywhere. It's pretty cool. So I just been making the best of it. But yeah, I guess I'll have to file for unemployment. My company, so the way it works for me is I'm a contractor. So they contract me out to this other company. The other company is the one that let me go. But I'm still an employee of the contracting company. They just have no work for me. So they're going to try and take some of the money from the small business stimulus package and try to keep me on the payroll because they don't want me to file for unemployment for a bunch of reasons. But the government also doesn't either. I don't know how many of you guys know this, but you might be retained by your company if they can swing it, because these loans they're getting from the federal government, they don't have to pay them back if they keep you on the payroll and they don't lay you off. So they have an incentive to just keep you employed. So it could be a good thing. I don't know, but it's only for a few months. So I'm going to find out in a couple days whether or not I really have to file for unemployment, but I'm in limbo right now. So if this coronavirus thing affected your employment, I'm right there with you. You're not alone. So I thought I'd get another podcast out, give you guys something to listen to while you're chilling at home, doing whatever you're doing. Oh yeah, you notice I cut my hair too. I told you guys I would do it. I gave myself the full Sinead. Looks pretty good, I guess. I don't know. I'm used to it now. I already forgot what my old hair looked like. So weird. Yeah, I had to cut it. I had to just shave it because it was just out of control. And there was no barbers, obviously. So I was like, well, let's do this. So I kind of like it. It's low maintenance. I might just keep it for a while. Yeah, it's just hair. Who gives a shit? I do have a topic today. I'm going to do a little more of a deep dive on the Stoicism thing, because the topic of this podcast is how to not worry about shit. And I think Stoicism is a good tool and philosophical framework for achieving that goal. I mean, obviously you can't mitigate all worry, but this can really help. So I got a few emails from people when I mentioned it in my last podcast. They wanted me to kind of go into it further. So I thought, oh, what the hell? So the first thing I want to do is compare the pandemic map from March 29th, when I did that last podcast, to April 8th and see where we're at numbers wise. So let me switch over there. Okay, so on April 29th, we had 722,435 total confirmed cases and 33,997 deaths. So let me pull up the map now. So today, 10 days later, we have 1.5 million confirmed cases and 87,984 deaths, which is basically 88,000 deaths. So yeah, we went from 33,000 to 87,000 deaths in 10 days. So that's more than double. Is that triple? I'm terrible at math. So I don't know, but that's crazy. Yeah, it's in 10 days we've really escalated. So, but I think these mitigation strategies are sort of working. You know, people staying home, isolating, wearing masks. Also, about the masks, what's up with the mask advice from the Surgeon General? Does that guy even know what he's doing? I feel like the Surgeon General is way in over his head right now. So yeah, these guys are idiots, but the governors, they're the ones that are getting it done. Let's give it up for the governors, right? They're the heroes here. Yeah, they know what they're doing. My governor in California, Gavin Newsom, he's doing the right thing. Cuomo in New York, that guy's like, that guy should get the Medal of Honor for, he's stepping up, man. These guys are like real leaders. You know, Trump, man, he doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. You know, and I'm a libertarian. Like, I don't know. I can't stand Trump, but I don't like Joe Biden either. You know, I don't like any of them. I think we have a massive leadership vacuum right now at the federal level. But yeah, thank goodness that we have real leaders in our governors. And what's with all these people that won't stop meeting for church services? What the hell? It's like, you're going to infect me. Stay home. You know, you can stay at home and pray to your sky wizard. You don't have to go to a place, a building. You can do it at home. So anyway, thank goodness we have some good governors out there that are doing the right thing. I know I'm not the only one that's going through some stuff. I mean, man, my situation compared to a lot of people is good. I'm not complaining. Like, I'm just telling you my situation, so maybe you can relate to some of it. Don't feel so alone with this crazy situation. You know, I forgot to mention the last podcast. You know, one of the things that pissed me off about this stupid virus is Jennifer was supposed to fly out here to California last weekend. We were supposed to kick it. So yeah, the coronavirus is messing up my romance game. You know what I'm saying? We got to find a vaccine quick. This is bullshit. You can only talk on the phone so much, you know what I'm saying? All I got to say is, Jen, keep her eye on those airfares. This thing will be over soon. But yeah, this sucks. But you know what, man? I got no problems. Compared to other people's situations, man, I'm good. Don't worry about me. I'm super good. My kid's good. She's actually going to be here tonight in probably an hour and a half. That's why I'm trying to get this podcast done. I'm going to barbecue. We're going to kick it, play some Fortnite. You know, it's all good. We pandemic pretty good over here at the HSP compound. So here's something really quick about the demisexual survey. I want to follow up to the follow-up. Something I missed is I think there is a high correlation between being an empath and being a demisexual, more than I actually last time I was analyzing the results, I kind of went down the here's why empaths are probably demisexual route, talking about our genetic trait and how as highly sensitive people we pause to check and all that stuff. But I missed the big news was, the question was, are all HSPs and empaths demisexual? And I think the data shows that not all HSPs are demisexual, but we can safely say that all empaths are demisexual, or pretty close, like 99%. That is a true statement. I think it's safe to assume because let's look at the data again. So for the question, do you consider yourself an empath? 86% said yes, 13% said no. Now, if we look at the question for, do you consider yourself a demisexual? 79% said yes, 20% said no. So what that means, if you look at these two, I'll try to put these two graphs on the page at the same time. If you look at the green lines, the green line is demisexual and empath. They're almost the same. So I think that's a true statement. I mean, nothing's 100%, but we can safely assume that most, like the majority of empaths are demisexual. So I think that actually is good data. I would make that assumption. And I've gotten a lot of feedback from people who are saying that they are demisexual. They didn't maybe know what the term was. So yeah, I wanted to bring that back up because I forgot to point that out, because that's pretty good correlation. Correlation is not causation, right? We know that. So I thought that was pretty cool. I wanted to circle back on that because I had missed pointing out that major piece of data. So, all right, I got a couple shout outs. I want to make you aware of a few people that I've been interacting with, or some interesting content I've come across. So the first person I want to give a shout out to is one of my YouTube listeners. She goes by the handle, "There are no problems, only challenges," which is pretty cool, right? And she's pretty active in my YouTube channel, and she has her own YouTube channel, and I want to tell you guys about it. She does some pretty cool videos. She has one on quarantine. Are you struggling? You're not alone. She has one on using dating apps for the first time, living with depression. So definitely stuff relevant to HSPs and empaths. She's super cool, and I think you guys will dig her personality. Like she definitely is genuine and authentic, which is cool. That's what we're looking for around here, right? So yeah, so look for "There Are No Problems, Only Challenges." I'll put the link in the description as always. But yeah, she's pretty cool. So go check out her YouTube channel. All right, then the other one I want to tell you guys about is Corridor of Dreams Art Studio. And she's an artist. Doesn't have a lot of subscribers right now, but she has really cool videos about the art that she does. So check her out. She's pretty cool. She also has a Twitter account I'll link to. Yeah, she's very creative, and her energy and her vibe is super cool. So I told her, I'm like, hey, I'm going to plug you the next podcast I do because I dig your vibe. So shout out to her. But I really dig her style and her art, and she has videos about what she's doing. So go check her out, man. She's an INFP. So go show her some support, you guys. Okay, and the last one is Whimsical INFP, and she does watercolors. And then so first she paints the painting, and then she doodles over the paint, and it's super cool. And like, I know y'all sitting at home right now looking for stuff to do. She go to her Instagram story, and she shows you how she does it. It's super fun and cool. Like, I'm definitely gonna do it with my kid. We're gonna check this out. But so her Instagram is whimsical_INFP. Go check her out. Yeah, since I've been chilling at home, I've been on social media kind of just checking out other people's vibes and see what they're putting out there. And man, our community, our HSP empath community, we're so creative, and it's a kind of a cool place to go checking out. It's better than watching the news. I'm going and checking out all you people's photographs and art projects and music. Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's way better than sitting there and watching the horror show that's out there. All right, and then I got a comment I wanted to talk about really quick from Laura. She says, "I'm an INFP, HSP, empath, introvert." That's what I am. Welcome to the HSP experience. You're in the right place, 100%. She says, "I've never felt so understood in my life. Please keep the podcast going. I love your attitude about the quarantine also." She says she's been saying the serenity prayer to get through all of this. Trump makes her physically ill. Yeah, welcome to the club. Every day she's scared. I don't even watch Trump anymore. I watch Trump's coronavirus press briefings only to see him fight with the press. It's amusing to me. He's like an impetuous child. I mean, when he starts yelling at the press because they ask him questions, that's narcissistic rage. That's what it is. He's a classic overt or grandiose narcissist. So when he starts getting mad, he's triggered. He's raging inside. And so what he's doing is he's just flailing at. He becomes a bully. Right? That's what narcissists do. So it's interesting to watch, I think. But I just watch it for psychological entertainment. I don't believe anything he says. Okay, anyway, back to her comment. She says, "I want to focus on bettering myself now. I have all the same struggles as you. I'm sober, struggling with depression, and I'm surrounded by narcs. My ex-husband, my parents, Man, she has her ex-husband and her parents are all narcissists. That's tough. Yeah. Oh man, and you're an empath. You're like, you're in a tough spot. They must be pulling all the energy out of you all the time. Man, I feel you. She says her biggest struggle is to get all the narcs out of her life. But my family is so hard. Everything is perspective though. Stay healthy, waiting for the next one. Yeah, all right, Laura, that's cool. I really appreciate that statement. Yeah, it's tough. Try to try to have good self-care. Maybe some of the stuff I'm going to talk about later about Stoicism you can use. The trick is to try one thing that I try to do as an empath is not absorb all the energy that comes in my way. Sometimes I try to imagine myself as like a rock in the middle of a roaring river, and all that energy is going around me. Like, you know, the water goes around a boulder. Like, be that boulder and just let it go around you. Because we have a choice. We can do that. As INFPs, we can do that. We don't have to absorb all the energy that comes at us. Another cognitive trick I do sometimes, I try to imagine myself that I'm clear as glass and all the energy just goes through me. The trick is you don't want the energy to stick to you, right? You be around narcissists or violence or just dark energy. You want it to not stick to you or grab you. You want it to just flow through you. And there's tricks we can do for that. Yeah, mindfulness, meditation. So just because you live with narcs doesn't mean it has to ruin your day. That's the good news. We have tools, right? Because the more you try to avoid them, the more they almost seek you out because they want that supply. Also, congratulations on being sober. That's super cool. I haven't had a drink in 21 days now, I think it is. I mean, I'm not quitting drinking forever. I probably should, but I don't know how long I'm going to not drink for, but it's going to be at least until this pandemic is over. Like I said in my last podcast, I feel like now's the time to be sober-minded and to really be paying attention to what's going on. Also, the benefits I've gotten from not drinking just for 20 days, I don't want to give that up. When I found out I lost my job, I texted Jennifer. I told her, I'm not going to lie, I feel like going to getting a bunch of 805s right now because why not? I have nothing to do. Like, as far as work, you know, there was this, I didn't want to drink because I was depressed. I kind of wanted to drink because I didn't have any responsibility. I was like, well, shit, now I can just drink. Like, I don't have to worry about being hungover for the job tomorrow because there's no job. So it was more like a license to just be irresponsible. But I thought about it and I was like, man, since I haven't had a drink in 21 days, like, I have no depression, no anxiety. My sleep is better. I'm sleeping all night. I wake up feeling great. My mind is more clear. My mood is more stable. My sense of humor is better. I'm getting more done. I'm more creative. I'm more productive. The only thing alcohol would give me would be that 2-hour vacation from my mind, which is good. I mean, let's not lie, that feels pretty damn good. Like, when you're ruminating and you're, you know, as introverted types and ruminator types, sometimes that alcohol can feel pretty good, you know, even though we pay for it the next day or the next 4 days or whatever. But yeah, it wasn't worth it. I was like, nah, I'm not drinking. I'm not drinking over this. And in fact, I went to bought my kid a bike. She needed a bike, so we're gonna go biking probably tomorrow. So yeah, you know, it was all good. I don't need to drink. I feel like as empaths, we need to sort of be careful with alcohol, especially a lot of alcohol, because it does lower our vibration. As empaths, we tend to exist at a higher vibrational frequency, right? And that's how we're very sensitive to vibrational energy. I know I'm sounding a little metaphysical, but I believe this is true. And when we drink, it lowers our vibration to a point where we can almost act not like empaths anymore. Like, I always feel like a drunk empath is not really an empath. I've seen empaths do shit that looks narcissistic under the influence of alcohol. When they sober up, though, they're back to being empath mode. But, you know, not always the most empathic type of person. Alcohol can be pretty dangerous for us. So anyway, good for you being sober. Hell yeah. Alcohol doesn't really add much value to anything. Honestly, alcohol is no substitute for good coping skills. So it's better just to learn the skills. Okay, so our main topic tonight is how to not worry about shit. And how we're going to do that is we're going to learn about Stoicism, because that is the whole point of Stoicism, is to mitigate worry and to learn what is worth worrying about and what's not, and what we can control and what we can't control. Stoicism does not mean not caring. Like, that's a misconception. Some people be like, yeah, he's stoic, you know, he doesn't really feel emotion. That's not what Stoicism is. Stoicism is more like organizing your emotions, Like one of those closet organizers. You have like a closet full of like clothes everywhere. It's all like disorganized. Stoicism is a way to organize your thoughts and feelings and your emotions. So you have easy access to them and they're in their proper place. Yeah, that's what Stoicism is. It's just a philosophy. But you can also achieve the same thing through, like I said in the last podcast, like Buddhism or certain other, frameworks. Some people use other mechanisms. Like, for example, I was talking to a friend of mine last night. She's a Christian, like I used to be. We've known each other for years, right, since high school, and I used to be a Christian with her. She still believes, and it's totally cool. It's working for her. Like, it's actually a benefit to her, and I think that's cool. Like, if it's working for you, don't change it. But we had little different flavors of Christianity. The one I believed in was more toxic and harmful, so I had to get rid of it. But hers is working for her. So my thing, I talk a lot of shit on here about religion, but I mostly have a problem with like anything that makes you feel shameful about yourself. Anything that makes you feel like there's something wrong with you. I mean, the version of Christianity I was taught, they told me like I was a sinner, and then without Jesus, I'd go to hell. So that made me not like myself, right? But if you have a version of Christianity, whatever you believe, that doesn't make you feel bad about yourself, like you're inherently broken, like you were born broken. Christopher Hitchens always says the problem with Catholicism and some of these Christian religions is, you're basically born sick but commanded to be well. But you can't make yourself well on your own. You have to believe in the sky wizard that they're selling you for 10% of your income through tithes. So Stoicism is free. You don't got to pay 10%. You can just do it. Stoicism has this concept of non-attachment, just like Buddhism. It has taught me to hold everything with an open hand. Things come and go. So what I try to do is I try to let go of the outcomes. I try my best, but leave the results up to the universe. So for example, this pandemic, all I can do is wash my hands, self-isolate, do the best I can, and leave the results up to the universe. But after that, my responsibility is done. I don't have to think about it anymore. I've done the best I can. I don't allow myself to go like, well, what if I catch this thing? What if? Well, we all, the thing about being a Stoic is you adjust your concern to the reality of the facts of the situation. Like, I don't have the virus yet, so I'm not going to worry about it. If I get it, then I'll be concerned at that point. But to just sit around and just play all these scenarios out in our heads, that's just the road to anxiety right there. Like I said, things come and go. At my age, I'm almost 50. I'll be 50 in June. I've been through a divorce that cost me a marriage, an amazing house, tons of money, a family, right? An intact family. I lost my religion. Well, I walked away from it. I didn't lose it. But now I'm unemployed, right? Okay, well, things come and go. What are you going to do? I didn't tell you guys this, but my dad died a few weeks ago. We have to hold everything in an open hand. He's gone. And it was sad, and I grieved. But Stoics also see death as part of life, right? It's part of nature. Stoics are comfortable with death. We face it. We talk about it. It's just part of life. That's why I feel like Stoicism is good for INFPs, because INFPs, we are fearless about thinking and talking about any topic, anything. That's one thing I love about Jennifer. She's an INFP like me. Man, we talk about everything. There is no topic off limit, ever. There's nothing either one of us has ever brought up where it was like, whoa, why are you bringing that up? Like, it's like, oh, wow, that's a tribute to... It's always like, whoa, that's an interesting topic. Let's talk about that. So it's a good match. Stoicism is a good match for INFPs. The thing is, it's like none of us are promised a long life. Just to be here, just to have been born, we beat the odds. You know how many people are never born? Yeah, think about that. Like, we're here. We got to experience this, but we're not going to be here forever. But Stoicism also teaches us to keep things in perspective. Like I was saying in the last podcast, things have been worse. I think I was saying that World War II and the Spanish flu killed like 20 million people. But you know that 1 million people die from malaria every year? 1 million. That's one child every 30 seconds. 3,000 children every day die from malaria. 3,000 a day. And we're tripping on this coronavirus, which is horrible. But the thing is, it's in our backyard now, like, right? It's in our face. But life is super fragile. Thomas Hobbes, who's one of the social contract theorists, who actually a lot of our government and our society is based on. He says in a state of nature, life is nasty, brutish, and short. And it's true. There's an illusion that we have that everything's supposed to work out, right? Like people aren't supposed to die of viruses in 2020. But we forget we're still primates that are running around in the natural world with this veneer of civilization and society overlaid over everything. But our ancestors used to die of this stuff all the time, and it's still happening, like in Africa from malaria or Ebola. You know, there's still places that are basically still a state of nature, and that is the norm. This world we live in, where it's like we have police and law, and that's not normal. That's like a new concept in history. It's very short. It's only been for a few thousand years we've had civilization. Before that, it was just, you know, the nature would just do what it had to do. And this coronavirus is just, we're just seeing a little snippet of reality of the earth we live on. You know, people forget that we're just animals on this planet, and we're not invincible like we think we are. Look at this little virus. Look what it's doing to everything, the economy, everything that we've built. But it doesn't care. The birds are still chirping. You know, the animals are still running around. They don't care. They're probably happier. The sky's bluer, the water's cleaner, there's less people around. Nature's loving it. It's us people that are losing our minds. Nature doesn't care. It's like taking a breath. It's like, oh, thank God people are staying home. You know, in a weird way, it's almost like we brought this on ourselves. You know, we're completely fucking up the rainforest and the ecosystem. You know, they're going into the bush and pulling these pangolins and bats out and selling them at markets. It's totally abusive to the animals. It's animal cruelty. And so in a weird way, I'm just like, we kind of get what we deserve. You know, look, we're not even being good stewards of the planet. I'm surprised. I'm not surprised it's trying to take us out. We're messing the imbalance up. And it's sad. People are dying, and innocent people shouldn't be dying. But, you know, the earth has a way of checking itself. And, you know, this is one of those times. If they didn't bring these bats out of the jungle, out of the bat caves or whatever, if people weren't bringing bats out of the bush into populated areas, Ebola wouldn't be around, and this coronavirus wouldn't be around, and some of these other corona type viruses. A lot of them come from bats. You know, it's fucked up. So I don't know. I mean, I'm not happy about it, but I'm not surprised. All right, so now I'm going to pull up an article. This is called Stoicism 101. It's from njlifehacks.com. It's pretty good. I'm just going to burn through it really quick, but I thought it had some really good principles. All right, so Stoicism was a school of ancient philosophy founded in Athens by the Phoenician merchant Zeno of Citium around 301 BC. What a cool name, right? Zeno. It was originally called Zenonism, but came to be known as Stoicism because Zeno and his followers met in something called the Painted Porch. The Stoics met outside in the public on this porch, and anyone could listen to the debate. You could argue it was somehow a philosophy of the street for ordinary people, not only aristocrats. So the principal Stoic leaders are Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and Seneca. You've probably heard a couple of those before. Most people have heard of Seneca and Marcus Aurelius. Marcus Aurelius was the last good emperor of the Roman Empire, the most powerful man on earth. He sat down each evening to reflect on the day and write down in his private diary. This private diary has been published as the Book of Meditations, and it's the most significant source of Stoic philosophy. So that's Marcus Aurelius. I'm going to skip Epictetus, but Seneca was a tutor and advisor to Nero, the Roman emperor who later forced Seneca to commit suicide, and Rome's best playwright and wisest power broker. He was a modern-day entrepreneur. Many of his personal letters survived and serve as a great source of Stoic philosophy. So we're going to get into the key principles and beliefs of Stoicism now. Okay, so real quick, the intro says, Stoicism teaches how to keep a calm and rational mind no matter what happens to you. And it helps you understand and focus on what you can control and not worry about, and accept what you can't control. So the number one principle is live in agreement with nature. That's the Stoic goal of life. So the ultimate goal of life was agreed by all ancient schools of philosophy to be something called eudaimonia. It's kind of a weird word. So this goal of life, eudaimonia, is a bit tricky to translate. Think of it as the supreme happiness or fulfillment attainable by human beings, also called the good life, a flourishing, lofty, and smoothly flowing life. That sounds pretty cool, right? That sounds like what we want. So what they mean by living in harmony with nature is this. Living in agreement with nature is about behaving rationally like a human instead of randomly and out of passion like a beast. In other words, we should always apply our natural ability or reason in all of our actions. If we apply reason, we live in agreement with nature because we act like how humans are meant to act. So basically, Stoicism says the reason we are animals, but we don't have to act like animals, is because we have reason. So number 2, live by virtue. It's the highest of all goods. Okay, so what does it mean to live by virtue in the Stoic philosophy, right? Well, they have 4 cardinal virtues, and they're these. Wisdom or prudence. That includes excellence in deliberation and good judgment, perspective and good sense. The other one is justice or fairness. That includes good-heartedness, benevolence, public service, and fair dealing. Number 3, courage or fortitude. That includes bravery, perseverance, authenticity, and confidence. And the 4th cardinal virtue of Stoicism is self-discipline or temperance. That includes orderliness, self-control, forgiveness, and humility. So what Stoics believe is when you are acting in accordance to these virtues, you will be progressing towards the good life, or eudaimonia, which is the ultimate goal of life. So the key to living the good life then is the perfection of reason and living according to virtue, or being virtuous. And what is being virtuous? It's those 4 virtues I just read. So real quick, just as an aside, the thing I like about philosophy is, these philosophical frameworks and paradigms, whether it's Stoicism or existentialism or whatever, they take a lot of thought energy. Well, why reinvent the wheel? They've already thought. Seneca and Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus, they've thought these things out, so we can borrow their frameworks. We don't have to borrow it all, but we take what works and leave the rest. These frameworks you can take, especially as INFPs, because we'll take ideas from other frameworks. And, my belief system is basically secular humanist, but like I believe in, I'm a Stoic, but I also believe in the Wiccan Reed, do what thou will, but harm none, which I think is a great philosophy. Like I'm down with like paganism and Wicca and some of these earth religions, some of these pagan religions. I think they're beautiful. Like if I was going to choose any religion to be, I would probably be a Wiccan. I think it's cool. I think Wicca's cool. Like I have tarot cards, man. One of these days maybe I'll do some readings. It's pretty fun. Yeah, so I borrow, like most INFPs, we borrow our philosophical frameworks from. It's eclectic, right? We borrow them from. That's another reason I didn't like Christianity. It was one-stop shop. You're not allowed to believe anything outside of Christianity. Like, you just can't. Like, it is, if it goes against the Bible always wins. So you're constrained. And as an INFP and a free thinker, oh, that was horrible. I used to hate that. I'm free to believe and build any philosophical framework that I want. So anyway, back to Stoicism. So here's something interesting. In the Stoic sense, you can only be virtuous if you practice all the virtues. For example, if you act courageously throughout the day and then get wasted at night, you are not truly virtuous because you broke the virtue of self-discipline with all the binge drinking. I'm guilty of that one. Virtue is an all or nothing package. Well, it's progress, not perfection, so don't worry. But you get the point, right? You can't just be like virtuous in one of the 4 and be like, I'm a virtuous person, but you're a liar or you're undisciplined in other areas kind of thing. So to the Stoics, it was clear that virtue must be its own reward. You do something because it is the right thing to do. Isn't that like the empath way? We just do it because it's the right thing to do. That's why I feel like Stoicism is a great fit for empaths and INFPs and INFJs. Anybody on our side of the sensitivity spectrum would probably be pretty cool with Stoicism. So here they say, doing the right thing is enough. It's your nature and it's your job. So it's our job to do the right thing. Okay, number 3, focus on what you can control and accept what you can't. So there's a quote from Epictetus. Make the best use of what's in your power and take the rest as it happens. Some things are up to us and some things are not up to us. We must carefully distinguish between what is up to us. So it goes on. We must carefully distinguish between what is up to us or within our own power and what is not. So what's up to us is our voluntary choices, namely our actions and judgments, while everything else is not under our control. So our choices, our actions, and our judgments. Those 3 things. So here's a cool little chart, and it lists what's up to us and things that are not up to us. And like I just said, things that are up to us are thoughts, judgments, and actions. An example of things that are not up to us is everything else. And that could be things like your body type, death, outside events, your reputation, health, wealth, job, other people's actions. They're really not up to us. I mean, when they say like health, you can get cancer and be an organic vegan person, right? It's like wealth, things happen, right? So really at the end of the day, we can do our best, but nothing's really up to us but our thoughts, judgments, and actions. Those are the three things. Everything else is not in our control. We can try to have like the best body we can. We can try to not die, but at the end of the day, those things are outside of our control. So don't worry about them. We could probably put on that list getting the coronavirus. It's not up to us. All we can do is control our actions, stay home, wash your hands. So number 4, distinguish between good, bad, and preferred or indifferent things. So the Stoics, they differentiated between good, bad, and indifferent things. So the good things include the cardinal virtues of wisdom, justice, courage, and self-discipline. The bad things include the opposite of these virtues, namely the 4 vices: folly, injustice, cowardice, and indulgence. Okay, so here they talk a little bit about kind of the Stoic morality system. And basically they say, always remember that even when some things are preferred, they are nevertheless indifferent with regard to achieving the good life. For example, the only good is virtue, which is wisdom, courage, justice, and self-discipline, which is completely up to us. Those are the things we can control. The only bad is vice, which is folly, cowardice, injustice, and indulgence, which is also completely up to us. Everything else is out of our control, and they would put that in the indifferent category. So it's not what you have or don't have, but what you do with it that matters. Your actions are what counts. It's all you can control. That's another reason I like Stoicism, because it's all about what you do. One of the things I hated about evangelical Christianity is thoughts were crimes, right? God would judge you just by what you think. Yeah, there's tons of Bible verses about, just thinking lustful thoughts or just thinking certain thoughts or sins. That's crazy, especially for a kid. I mean, I have a pretty fertile imagination. I can come up with some pretty crazy stuff in my head. And now I just laugh at it. I think like, wow, I'm so creative. But when I was a kid and I was a Christian, I used to feel God's judging me. Like, how can you think those thoughts, Steve? You're a sinner. You're going to hell. Yeah, in Stoicism, thoughts are not crimes. So number 5, take action. The true philosopher is a warrior of the mind. That definitely sounds INFP. So there's a little graphic here. It talks about the true philosopher, and it says the true philosopher is the warrior of the mind. They put their ideas into practice, as opposed to the librarian of the mind that stores ideas on the shelf. Which one are you? So it goes on to say Stoics were doers. Stoicism is a very practical life philosophy. For the Stoic, it's not enough to think about how to live one's own life, but to actually go out into the world and practice its ideas. You must earn the good life by taking right action. You should not be satisfied with learning of abstract ideas about how to live one's life, but you must vigorously apply those ideas. Talk and knowledge are cheap and useless if not applied. If we don't apply what we learn, we end up doing the opposite. Isn't that true? I've done this. We've all done this, where we go out and we buy these self-help books and we read these books. We go to the Tony Robbins seminars, but then we don't do anything with it. And as a Stoic, you really don't get any credit for buying the book or even reading the self-help book. You got to do it. I knew someone who was an alcoholic and their spouse made them go to an AA meeting or they were going to leave them, right? So he starts going to AA meetings and starts to get a couple weeks of sobriety. But while he had been drinking over the last previous years, he was doing all kinds of damage and wreckage and messed up things to his wife. So she's still pissed off. She still has resentments, right? She's still not over it. And he was complaining to me. He's like, man, I'm going to AA meetings. I'm going to those AA meetings. I don't know why she's not happy. It's like, dude, you don't get credit for just going to meetings, man. You got to do the steps, dude. You got to like not drink for a while. Just going to a meeting, you get no credit for that. Anybody can do that. I mean, I'm not trying to downplay walking into a meeting for some alcoholics, but just going into a meeting, that's like going to chemo, but just sitting in the waiting room. You made it to the hospital, but you got to go get your medicine, man. You don't get any credit for just sitting in the waiting room. And that's what the Stoics are saying here. You don't really get any credit for just knowing what to do. You got to do it. All right, number 6. I do this one all the time. Practice misfortune. Ask yourself what could go wrong. So there's a quote here that says, the Stoics train themselves to maintain equanimity and freedom from emotional suffering in the face of seeming misfortunes by regularly visualizing and preparing to cope with them long in advance. I do the same thing. I'm always like, okay, this is different though than future tripping and being scared of the future and ruminating on stuff you can't control and creating anxiety. Asking yourself what could go wrong actually takes away the anxiety. Like, for example, with my job. Okay, I lost my job. Well, what could go wrong? Well, I could file for unemployment. I mean, but I could possibly go bankrupt in the future because of this. My credit could be ruined. I could survive that as long as I'm healthy. You know what I mean? Like, I'd be like, okay, I could live through, I visualize that scenario. It's like, all right, I could do that as long as my kid's healthy and I have my health. Fuck it, it's just money. I'll survive. I'll figure something out. So it's like, it's the what could go wrong thing is like, it kind of alleviates like, well, the worst thing can go wrong is, they can't kill me, even though my bank account's zero. And it just like it helps you to see like the worst case scenario sometimes is not that bad. You'll survive. Or it's like the divorce thing. I remember I played this out with the divorce. I remember thinking, well, if I divorce my wife, like what could go wrong? And it's like, well, I got to pay alimony, child support. I got to move. It's going to disrupt the family, but we'll survive. It'll create peace in the long run, blah, blah, blah. But you play these scenarios. But usually if you think about it correctly with good intentions and good virtuous thinking, usually you could come to a conclusion that you'll be okay. You'll be okay. So the Stoics call this premeditation of adversity. That's pretty cool. It's exactly this indifference to feared outcomes that the Stoics want to strengthen so that they don't worry about them and could face them calmly, rationally, and patiently if they occur. Buddhists do this too. There's a concept of Buddhism that's called die before you die. And what that means is you're supposed to meditate about death and being dead and not being here. To confront it, to kind of feel it, to accept it so you can not fear it. Same concept. It's like, it's a very targeted, rational way of thinking about future events, but you're controlling it. Your thoughts aren't running away with fear and anxiety like if you're catastrophizing about something. It's different. So one thing on the article they talk about is, say you make a plan. You say, I'm going to do such and such, but then what if something happens? Well, then you say, well, then I will, ... Well, what if something else happens? Well, then I'll do this. It's always contingency plans. I don't know if that was too clear. Let me tell you what I personally use. This is something that helps me. I have a phrase that I can tell myself when things happen, and it goes like this. Okay, now blank happened. I guess I'll do blank now. So for example, okay, I lost my job. That happened. I guess I'll make a podcast now. Or, okay, I got divorced. I guess I'll try to go make some new friends now. There's always like, okay, it's acknowledging, okay, this happened. I guess I'll do blank now. There's always something you can do. It's like, okay, well, there's a virus that's happening. I guess I'll stay home and play with my kid more now or whatever. But it's just like, you don't just acknowledge the thing like, oh, I lost my job. Yeah, well, what now? There's always something you can do. And it should try to be, and it's not sit around and drink. It's something that's virtuous, right? It's going to be something that's disciplined and creative and hopefully part of the solution. So there's a quote by Seneca here. It says, nothing happens to the wise man against his expectations. Of course, what it means by that is we should expect every outcome. The wise man expects every outcome. He's already thought about it, is every scenario. Of course, the wise woman too. So Stoicism says we'd be crazy to want to face difficulty in life, but we'd be equally crazy to think that it's not going to happen. We must prepare for difficulty to happen so that we'll be ready to face it rather than getting surprised by it. So, quick recap is the idea of premeditation of adversity is to repeatedly imagine potentially bad scenarios in advance so that they will not catch you by surprise and you'll be able to face them calmly and act according to virtue. And I want to add to that, again, it's not a runaway mind where you're just future tripping and catastrophizing and creating anxiety. This is a very targeted, rational, sober, what if scenarios that you play in your head about a certain situation or topic. So number 7 is add a reserve clause to your planned actions. And all that really means is do your very best to succeed, but at the same time, simultaneously know and accept that the ultimate outcome is beyond your control. That is a huge one. So you try your best, but like I said earlier in the podcast, leave the outcome to the universe because you don't know what's going to happen. So Seneca has a sentence, they use it as an example. He says, I will sail across the ocean if nothing prevents me. So in that little sentence, there's a lot there, right? His intention is to sail across the ocean, but with the acceptance and realization that, if nothing prevents me, because something could, right? So a Stoic always goes through life like, this is my intention. So my intention today when I woke up was like, I'm going to do a podcast as long as time permits and the power doesn't go out, right? Let's say, right? You always have to build your contingencies into your intention. So the idea is to do these 4 things at once anytime you're doing something that's meaningful. Number 1, do your very best. 2, know that the results are out of your control. 3, accept whatever happens. And finally, 4, continue to act in accordance with virtue. So you do those 4 simultaneously. That's the Stoic way of life right there. So number 8, love everything that happens. So Epictetus says, seek not for events to happen as you wish, but rather wish for events to happen as they do, and your life will go smoothly. That sounds like something Eckhart Tolle would say. You see how it's all related? These are universal truths. That's the thing. The Stoics are talking about the same thing Eckhart Tolle is talking about, the same thing Tony Robbins is talking about, right? The same thing Oprah's talking about on Super Soul Sunday. These universal truths that transcend doctrine, dogma, and religion. That's why this stuff is free. I believe all real truth is universal and should be free. That's why I don't like to pay for truth. So the article goes on to say that in order for us to love everything that happens, we do this in 2 steps. The first step is to accept that we don't control everything that happens and that whatever happens is okay. It's someone else who makes the weather. We simply must accept it. The second step is to not only accept, but to love everything that happens. Again, it's someone else who makes the weather. We simply get to enjoy it. So try to love your circumstances. Like right now, we're on lockdown, we're quarantined. Try to accept and even love the situation where you're in, right? Because there's beauty in this moment where we have all this alone time. We're forced to maybe work through some issues or confront things about ourselves that this scenario is making us do. Because the alternative is to fight against it and get resentful and bitter and angry and full of fear. And that's not Stoic and that's not virtuous. That's just not the way you want to go. That's not the way I want to go anyway. I've had people tell me like, things don't seem to bother you, Steve. I feel things, but I know how to like quickly divert them into this trying to love the present moment no matter how it presents itself. I try to love everything that happens because what's the alternative? If you fight it, if you resist the shape of the present moment, you're fighting life and reality. It's a losing battle. It's like you're declaring war on life and life will win. So here's another way to look at it. The article says it's a bit unnatural to feel gratitude for something we never wanted to happen. What helps is this. Think of a greater power that spins the world and decides on everything that happens. And all the events, whether desired or unexpected, happen specifically for you. At the moment when something happens, it may feel wrong, but it serves something greater that you don't get to understand. And in the end, it will benefit you. And this is where you can plug in your deity, karma, that kind of thing. Like that everything happens for a reason thing. I'll just let you guys fill in that piece. I have my own belief system. Like I've told you guys before, I'm an atheist, but I'm an atheist when it comes to all the world religions. I believe Allah and Zeus and Yahweh and Jesus and all these deities are mythological creations made by humans. But I do believe that there's an ineffable reality outside of our time space that probably is the cause of everything. Any of our mythological stories that we've told ourselves down here on Earth that we've made up around the campfire, they're way too small and limiting to contain the reality and the scope and the magnitude of what really is probably behind all this stuff. So I don't know. That part I'll leave up to you guys. So number 9, turn obstacles into opportunities. Perception is key. This is really true. The article says, our perceptions can be like a lead ball chained to our feet, holding us back and making us weak. or they can be a great source of strength like a magic potion. How we see the world around us and how we interpret what happens to us makes a massive difference in how we get to live our lives. What we already learned from the Stoics is that they see external events not as good or bad, but as indifferent. So it's not those events because they are ultimately indifferent, but your own judgment of these events that matters. So this makes you responsible for your life. You don't control external events, but you can control how you choose to look at them and respond to them. And in the end, that's all that matters. That is so true. Think back on your life. How many, quote, things that were tragic at the time or crisis worked out to be good in the end? How many people have been fired from a job and it was horrible at the time, but just led to a better job? Or you had a breakup at the time, it was horrible, it was devastating, but you ended up finding like a better person, a better partner, right? I mean, think about that. Like my divorce was devastating. It was probably one of the worst experiences of my adult life. But it was one of the best things that ever happened to me because I'm such a different person. I've evolved. I've grown. I've started this podcast. I never would have met Jennifer. And she's the coolest woman I've ever been in a relationship with. She like literally has changed my perception about so many things in this world. So I've grown individually and in a relationship. I was still in that marriage, sleeping in the man cave by myself because we were like in roommate mode at the end. I'd still be there. I've never been happier. Getting divorced was the best thing I ever did. But getting married was the best thing and the right thing to do at the time. But it was also time to get out of it. You never know what circumstance you're in that looks shitty right now. And you'll look back a year later and be like, wow, that was one of the best things that ever happened to me because it launched me into this new path, or I grew, or I confronted this thing about me that I needed to work on. All right, so number 10, be mindful. Stoic mindfulness is where it all begins. So what this means is that you are mindful when you self-monitor and observe your thoughts and actions as they happen in the here and now, so that you are fully aware of what you are doing at each instant. Mindfulness is a prerequisite to practice Stoicism, but it also gets further developed by practicing. It works both ways. The article says, being mindful is about being aware enough to take a step back from your own thoughts and then being able to choose the best action rather than running on autopilot. Yeah, we don't want autopilot, right? And that, as ruminators, that's something we can do. We have to be careful. We have to be mindful. This part I really like, this next part. It says, when you experience an emotion, in that exact moment, you need to realize that you are feeling that emotion. Only then can you choose whether the emotion is helpful or not and what your best response is. If you do not realize that you are acting out of emotion, then it's incredibly difficult to choose and change your behavior. We basically give up being philosophers and Stoics when we are not mindful, when we act on autopilot and forget about what we're doing. So the idea is if you're a Stoic person, you don't go on autopilot. You're always, every time you have a feeling, you look at it. It doesn't mean you have to act on it or do like a deep dive, like, oh my God, why am I feeling that emotion? But you're always aware of your emotions and you can objectively look at them. It's mindfulness. So the article ends with this idea of Stoics need to have an integrated daily practice of reflection. They review their day at the end of the day. And there's a quote from Seneca here. And Seneca says, when the light has been removed and my wife has fallen silent, aware of this habit of mine, I examine my entire day and go back over what I've done and said, hiding nothing from myself, passing nothing by. For why should I fear any consequence from my mistakes? When I am able to say, see that you don't do it again, but now I forgive you. So we should look at our day and forgive ourselves for things that we did that weren't virtuous, that we don't like, that we did. So see, I'm sure a lot of people listen to me do that. Stoicism is not the only one that does this. Some people do gratitude journals, but it's that living an examined life and not just going through life on autopilot. So something you could do as part of your daily reflection at the end of the day, you could ask yourself, number 1, what good did I do today? Number 2, what could I do better? And number 3, how can I be the best version of myself? What do I want to change? All right, you guys. So that's a more deep dive into Stoicism. I'm going to put a link to this article and also a video on Stoicism. Yeah, thanks for listening. Please like and subscribe. And if you can, if you're a podcaster, please give me a review on Apple Podcasts or Google. Give me some 5 stars or review if you like what you're hearing. If you can relate to anything, I appreciate it. That does help. And yeah, hope you guys are safe during this lockdown. I'll try to do another podcast soon. I don't know. I got to figure out my unemployment situation. But just know I'm thinking about you guys. You're not alone. We're all in this together, and we'll survive. We'll come out the other side of this stronger. But try not to trip too hard and try to just be stoic about it. All right, you guys. Much love. Peace out.